Stop for a second and look around you. The chair you're sitting on, the screen you're watching, the air in the room, they all feel solid, certain, undeniable. But what if I told you that this reality you trust so much may not be as fixed as it seems? That at its most fundamental level, reality is slippery, fluid, and maybe, just maybe, waiting for you to shape it. This is not a fantasy. This is not science fiction. This is the strange whisper of quantum physics. And it is also the timeless echo of ancient spiritual wisdom. For thousands of years, mystics and philosophers have told us, you are more than a passive observer. You are part of creation itself. The Stoics, living 2,000 years ago, believed that each of us is a fragment of the Logos, the rational order of the universe. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "All that you see will change in a moment. The substance of the universe loves nothing so much as to change the things which are, and to make new ones like them." And in the temples of the East, sages whispered that the world is not fixed, but arising, moment by moment from the field of consciousness. The Buddha taught, with our thoughts, we make the world. Now, centuries later, modern physics seems to stumble upon the same mystery. At the smallest scales of existence, the world of atoms and particles reality refuses to behave like a rigid machine. It dances, it flickers, it waits, and sometimes it seems to wait for us. Let me give you a picture. Imagine you walk into a dark room. You don't know what's inside. Maybe a chair, maybe nothing at all. In that moment, before you turn on the light, the room exists, but undefined. Only when you flip the switch, only when your eyes observe, does the room reveal its truth. Quantum physics suggests that reality itself might be a little like that room, potential, possibility, waiting to take shape, till something or someone looks. Of course, this raises the great question of our age. Are we creating reality in every moment? Or are we only discovering what was already there? This question is more than science. It is more than philosophy. It cuts into the heart of how we live. Because if reality is not fixed, then your choices, your focus, even your awareness, might matter more than you ever imagined. Because if reality is shaped in the present moment, then the present is not small, it is infinite. This journey we are about to begin is not easy. Quantum physics is strange, ancient wisdom is subtle, but together, side by side, they may help us glimpse a deeper truth, that life is not just something happening to us. Life is something happening with us, through us, in us. So take a breath. Leave behind what you think you know about solid reality, and step with me into a world where science and spirit meet. A world where the present moment may hold the key to everything. Why does quantum physics shock us so deeply? Why is it that even the greatest scientists, Einstein or Heisenberg, admitted that they did not fully understand it? The reason is not that it is too mathematical, too complex, or too scientific. The reason is that it breaks the rules of our everyday common sense. In daily life, reality feels simple. A chair is solid. A glass is heavy. If you drop it, it falls. If you walk away, it stays where you left it. That is the world we know, the world we trust. But the quantum world, the world of atoms and particles, tells us a very different story. It is a world where certainty disappears, where objects exist as possibilities, not facts, and where things that seem separate may be secretly connected. Albert Einstein once said, "Anyone who is not shocked by quantum theory has not understood it." So why is it shocking? Let us begin with the most basic assumption, that reality is solid. When you look at the table in front of you, it feels dense, unshakable. But zoom into its atoms, and you discover that it is 99.999% empty space. The particles you imagine as little balls are not solid at all. They are vibrations in invisible fields, flickering in and out of existence. Reality, at its deepest level, is almost nothing. It is like watching a movie on a giant screen. You see landscapes, faces, battles, stories. But get close enough, and you realize it is only pixels of light. The table, the glass, the body you inhabit, they too are pixels of vibrating energy. Another assumption we carry is that objects exist whether we look at them or not. If you put your phone on the table and walk out of the room, you believe it is still there. Classical physics agrees. But quantum physics whispers, not so fast. Particles exist in a state called superposition. Not here, not there, but in many places at once. Only when observed do they settle into one position. Until then, they are clouds of possibility. Imagine rolling a pair of dice. In our world, you roll and you get a 3, or a 5, or a 6. In the quantum world, the dice stay spinning, showing every number at once, until you look. Your observation decides which number becomes real. Or imagine baking bread. The dough holds infinite possibilities. It could rise perfectly, it could collapse, it could burn. Until you open the oven, all possibilities exist. When you look, one reality greets you. Or think of love. Before you ask someone how they feel, the answer is all possibilities. Yes, no, maybe. When you finally ask, when you finally look, the cloud collapses into one truth. This is what quantum physics suggests about reality itself, that the act of observing shapes what is. And then comes the most unsettling discovery: entanglement. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. Two particles, once connected, remain linked no matter how far they travel. Move one here, and the other responds instantly, even if it is on the other side of the galaxy. No signal passes, no time elapses. It is as if the universe itself is a hidden web. You can think of it like twins who finish each other's sentences, no matter how far apart they live, or two musicians improvising in perfect harmony across continents. But in quantum entanglement, the connection is absolute, unbreakable, faster than light. So we return to the question, why does quantum physics shock us? Because it does not only rewrite science, it shakes the foundations of how we see existence. It tells us matter is mostly emptiness. It tells us particles do not exist in one place until we look. It tells us everything may be connected in ways we cannot see. And when we hear this, we feel something strange inside. Because it is not just about particles, it is about us. Think of choices. Every morning you decide, get out of bed or stay under the blanket, speak with kindness or stay silent, say yes or say no. Each choice collapses futures into one path. In a sense, we live quantum lives. Possibilities are infinite, but the present moment is the collapse, the decision, the observation. Think of a child opening a surprise toy. Until the wrapper is torn, the toy is all possibilities. Excitement comes not just from what is revealed, but from the truth that many realities could have been. Life is like that wrapper, a tension of possibilities, collapsing into the now. Think of weather. The forecast says, rain, sun, clouds, all possible. Until you open the window, reality has not chosen. Only then does one sky greet you. These examples, though simple, show why quantum physics touches our imaginations so deeply. It makes us realize the universe may not be a machine that runs without us. It may be a dance that includes us. No wonder mystics lean forward when they hear of quantum. For centuries they have said, consciousness shapes reality. The Buddha said, with our thoughts, we make the world. Marcus Aurelius wrote, our life is what our thoughts make it. And now experiments in physics reluctantly seem to echo the same. Not in poetry, but in equations. Not in temples, but in laboratories. Yet the whisper is the same. The world is not entirely independent from the one who sees it. Einstein resisted. He said, God does not play dice with the universe, but his rival. Niels Bohr smiled and replied, stop telling God what to do with his dice. And here we are, a century later, still stunned, still unsure, still marveling. Quantum physics shocks us because it does not feel like distant science. It feels personal. It suggests that reality is not rigid, not separate, not indifferent. It is alive, uncertain, interconnected, and somehow waiting for us. So the next time you roll dice, or bake bread, or open a gift, or ask a question, remember, you are touching the quantum truth. Reality is not just out there, fixed and frozen. Reality may also be in here, waiting for you to look. Before we dive deeper into mysteries like the observer effect and entanglement, we need to pause and ask, what is quantum physics really? Many people hear the word quantum and think of something mystical, magical, or impossible to understand. But at its core, quantum physics is simply the study of the very small, the world of atoms, electrons, and the building blocks of reality. It begins with a simple discovery. The universe is not made of solid stuff. The chair you sit on, the food you eat, even your body, they are not continuous pieces of matter. They are made of atoms, and atoms are mostly empty space. Imagine taking an orange and blowing it up to the size of the Earth. On this scale, the atoms inside the orange would be the size of small marbles, spread far apart, floating in emptiness. That is how much nothing there is in everything. And yet, these atoms, these almost nothings, are what build the world. Now, here's where things get strange. When scientists looked closer, they realized atoms are not tiny little balls, like miniature solar systems with electrons orbiting a nucleus. Instead, electrons behave like ghosts. Sometimes they appear as particles, tiny dots. Sometimes they act like waves spreading out, interfering like ripples on a pond. So which are they, particles or waves? The shocking answer: both, depending on how you look. This is the first truth of quantum physics. Reality is not fixed in one form. It can behave in contradictory ways. Let's use a simple example. Think of water. If you scoop it into a glass, it takes the shape of the glass. If you let it flow, it moves like a river. If you freeze it, it becomes solid ice. Water is one substance, but it changes form depending on conditions. Quantum particles are like that, only far stranger. They don't just change form with temperature, they change form when you measure them. And here's another discovery. Particles do not move in neat, predictable paths like billiard balls. Instead, they exist in a blur of probability. Scientists call this the wave function. Think of a friend running late to meet you at a cafe. Before they arrive, you imagine many possibilities. Maybe they are stuck in traffic. Maybe they stopped to buy flowers. Maybe they changed their mind. You don't know where they are until you see them walk in. Until that moment, they exist in a cloud of possibilities in your mind. Particles behave in a similar way. Until observed, they are not in one place, but in many possible places at once. This is the second truth of quantum physics. Reality, at its smallest scale, is probability, not certainty. Let me give you another example. Imagine you are playing hide-and-seek with a child. You know they are somewhere in the house, but until you open each door, they could be in the kitchen, the bedroom, or under the bed. All possibilities are real in your search. Only when you open the right door do you collapse the possibilities into one fact. There they are. Quantum particles live in that playful uncertainty. They are like children hiding, waiting for the door of observation to open. But perhaps the most mind-bending truth of quantum physics is this: particles can influence one another instantly, no matter the distance. We call this entanglement, and it suggests the universe is woven together by invisible threads. Think of two dice rolled far apart. In the classical world, they are independent. You roll one, it shows 5. You roll the other, maybe 3. In the quantum world, it's as if the dice are magically connected. Roll one, and the other instantly mirrors its fate. Or imagine two lovers who, even when separated by oceans, sense each other's emotions. Quantum physics shows us a similar kind of intimacy between particles, only far more precise, far more absolute. This is the third truth of quantum physics. Reality is interconnected. Now, you might ask, if quantum is so strange, why should we trust it? Why not dismiss it as abstract theory? The answer is simple. Quantum physics works. It is not only a theory, it is the foundation of much of our modern world. The tiny transistors inside your smartphone, the very chips that power your computer, rely on quantum principles. Without quantum mechanics, your phone would not exist, your laptop would not boot, the internet itself would not run. The lasers that scan your groceries at the supermarket, pure quantum technology. The MRI machines that look inside the human body, made possible by quantum spins of particles. Even the GPS satellites that guide you home rely on corrections born from quantum physics and relativity together. And today, scientists are building quantum computers machines so powerful that they could solve problems in minutes. That would take ordinary computers millions of years. So you see, quantum physics is not just theory, not just mysticism, not just words in a book. It is already in your hand, in your pocket, in your medicine, in your daily life. You are living with quantum every day, even if you never knew it. So let's put it all together. what is quantum physics? It is the science that reveals three shocking truths: that matter is not solid, but mostly emptiness and vibration; that particles live in probabilities, not certainties; and that the universe is interconnected at a level beyond space and time. But perhaps the most important thing is this: quantum physics is not just about the small, it is about us. Because if reality is not fixed, if it exists in probabilities, if it responds to observation, then our role as observers may be far more meaningful than we thought. Think about your daily life. Every morning, you wake into a field of possibilities. You don't know what phone call will arrive, what words you will say, what feelings will come. The day exists like a quantum wave, open, potential, unformed. And each choice you make, each act of awareness, collapses those possibilities into one lived reality. This is why quantum physics matters. Not just because it builds our technology, our computers, our lasers, our MRI machines, but because it hints that reality itself is stranger, softer, more alive, and more dependent on us than we ever believed. Quantum physics is not just science. It is a mirror held up to existence. And when we look into that mirror, we see not just particles, but ourselves. If there is one experiment that changed the way we see reality, it is the double-slit experiment. At first, it seems simple. You take a beam of particles, tiny pieces of matter like electrons, and fire them at a barrier with two small openings. Behind that barrier is a screen to record where the particles land. Now, if electrons were just tiny bullets, you would expect them to pass through one slit or the other, making two neat bands on the screen. But when scientists performed this experiment, they saw something astonishing. Instead of two clear bands, the electrons created a pattern of many stripes, like the ripples of water overlapping. The particles were interfering with themselves. They were behaving not like solid bullets, but like waves. This discovery shocked the scientific world. But what came next was even stranger. When scientists placed detectors at the slits to watch which path the particles took, the interference pattern disappeared. Suddenly, the electrons behaved like bullets again, producing only two bands. The simple act of observing changed the result. Unwatched, the particles lived as waves of possibility. Watched, they collapsed into one path, one outcome. This is the observer effect. And it remains one of the most mysterious findings in the history of science. But how do we understand this? Let's bring it closer to our lives. Imagine a theater rehearsal. When the director is absent, the actors are free experimenting, improvising, exploring many possibilities. But the moment the director enters the room, the energy shifts. The actors snap into a single performance. Observation changes the play. Or picture children at home. Left alone, they are chaotic, creative, wild. But the moment a parent steps in, they instantly behave differently. The presence of an observer changes the game. Even in the animal kingdom, this is true. Wildlife researchers often note that animals shift their behavior when they sense they are being watched. A lion stalks with raw elegance in the wild, but place a camera too close, and suddenly it becomes cautious, restrained. Observation alters nature itself. And you know this in your own life. Have you ever been caught dancing when you thought you were alone? In solitude, your body moves freely without judgment. But the moment someone enters, your movements stiffen, collapse, become something smaller. Unobserved, you are a wave. Observed, you become a particle. Think also of social media. People act one way in private and another when they know they are being filmed. Simple meal becomes a staged photograph. A personal thought becomes a carefully crafted post. The presence of an observer, the audience transforms reality into performance. Even athletes live this truth. A basketball player may shoot perfectly in an empty gym, 10 shots in a row, flawless. But place them in front of millions of eyes, under the weight of an audience. And suddenly, the same act feels heavier, sometimes producing a different result. Observation shifts outcomes. Quantum particles, in their own way, seem to live by this same rule. Left unobserved, they flow as waves of endless potential. Observed, they collapse into one form. So, the great question arises, what does it mean to observe? Is it simply the physical act of a measuring device interacting with particles? Or is there something deeper, something about awareness itself? Here, science collides with philosophy. Werner Heisenberg, one of the fathers of quantum mechanics, once wrote, "What we observe is not nature itself, but nature exposed to our method of questioning. Reality does not stand apart from us, waiting unchanged. It is revealed in relationship with the questions we ask, the ways we measure, the presence we bring." Niels Bohr, his great colleague, echoed this idea. It is wrong to think that the task of physics is to find out how nature is. Physics concerns what we can say about nature. For Bohr, the experiment was humbling. We cannot grasp reality as if it were an object on a shelf. We are always inside it, shaping what can be seen. Einstein, however, resisted this notion. He could not accept that reality might depend on observation. He famously remarked, "I like to think the moon is there, even if I am not looking at it." For him, the world must exist independently of us, whether seen or unseen. To this, Bohr replied with a touch of wit, "Einstein, stop telling God what to do." And so, for decades, the debate raged. Is the observer effect about consciousness? Or is it merely about interactions with instruments? Is the universe waiting for us to look? Or are we just uncovering a deeper order already there? The truth is, we still don't know. But the very fact that this question exists shakes us to the core. Because whether you side with Einstein, Bohr, or Heisenberg, one thing is certain: observation matters. And when we apply this to our own lives, the echo is profound. Think of relationships. When someone feels unseen, they fade, they wither. But when you truly observe them, when you offer attention, they transform. They collapse into a deeper, more vibrant reality. Think of music. A musician practicing alone may play with one kind of energy, but the moment an audience gathers, the performance changes. The act of being observed alters the art. Think of yourself. The qualities you choose to observe in your own life, your flaws, your gratitude, your fears, your strengths expand. What you focus on becomes your lived reality. This is why the double-slit experiment is more than a scientific curiosity. It is a mirror, showing us that reality itself may not be separate from awareness. When we look, the universe chooses. When we don't, it remains open. The observer effect teaches us something humbling and something hopeful. Humbling, because it shows us that we are not separate from reality. We cannot stand outside and say, "This is the universe and here I am, detached." We are part of the unfolding. Hopeful, because it whispers that attention matters, presence matters, awareness matters. So we must ask, are we simply spectators of the universe, watching from the seats of the theater? Or by the very act of watching, are we part of the cast helping to write the script itself? Stop for a moment and ask yourself, where is your life actually happening? Not yesterday, that has already gone, frozen in memory. Not tomorrow, that has not arrived, still a cloud of possibility. Life unfolds only here, only now, only in this breath, this heartbeat, this moment. And yet, most of us rarely live here. We wander into the past, replaying regrets. We leap into the future, rehearsing fears. But the present, the only place reality actually exists, slips through our hands. Quantum physics reminds us of this truth in its own strange way. At the smallest scales, the past and the future are not fixed. A particle exists only in the moment it is measured. Before that, it is a blur of possibility. After that, it dissolves again into potential. The universe itself whispers, reality is born in the present. But what if I told you? Some experiments suggest that even the past is not fully determined until the present moment. Physicist John Wheeler designed something called the delayed choice experiment. In it, a particle passes through a setup that could show either its wave nature or its particle nature. But here is the twist. The decision of how to measure it is made after the particle has already passed the slits. By common sense, the past should already be fixed. But the result shows otherwise. The way you measure now seems to decide what the particle was back then. It is as if the universe waits until the present moment to decide not only the future, but also the past. Another variation, the quantum eraser experiment, goes even further. In this test, information about a particle's path is first recorded. But later, that information is erased, and when it is erased, the particle behaves as if the information never existed. The interference pattern returns, as though reality rewrote itself. These experiments are baffling. They suggest that the past is not a fixed stone, but a fluid possibility shaped by the present. Think of it like this. Imagine you write a story in pencil. Later, you erase a word. Instantly, the meaning of the earlier sentences changes. The story you thought was finished is rewritten. Quantum experiments whisper that reality itself might carry a similar flexibility, that the present can reach back and alter what we call the past. Or imagine watching a mystery film. At first, every character could be the culprit. Only at the end, when the truth is revealed, do the earlier scenes gain meaning. In a sense, the ending rewrites the past. Quantum mechanics hints that nature tells its story the same way. The meaning of the past waits until the present moment to be decided. What does this mean for us? It means that living in the present is not just a poetic idea. It is the very structure of reality. The past is not as solid as we think. The future is not as fixed as we fear. Both lean toward the present for completion. The Stoics sensed this in their own language. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Time is like a river made up of the events which happen, and a violent stream. For as soon as a thing has been seen, it is carried away, and another comes in its place, and this will be carried away too. The river flows only here, only now. The past is washed away, the future not yet arrived." And spiritual wisdom echoes the same. The Buddha taught, "Be where you are, otherwise you will miss your life." Quantum physics seems to join this chorus. The experiments show us that the present is not small, not fleeting. It's the place where reality is decided, where the river flows, where life actually happens. Think about your own life. When you are stuck in regret, you are arguing with a past that no longer exists. When you are lost in fear, you are fighting with a future that has not yet formed. But when you return to the now, when you feel your breath, your body, your surroundings, you are touching the only place that is real. Think of a surfer riding a wave. Look too far ahead, you fall. Look back, you lose balance. Only by staying present can you ride. Or a musician playing. The past notes are gone, the future notes not yet played. Only the living note exists. That is where the song breathes. Life is like that. The wave is the now. The song is the now. Reality is the now. So, the next time you wonder where your life truly is, remember this. Quantum physics suggests that even the past may not be finished until the present. Stoicism teaches that peace is found only in meeting the present with reason. Spirituality invites us to awaken into the now as the doorway to eternity. Now is not just a passing instant. Now is the birthplace of reality. And when you enter it fully, you discover that you are not living in a line of time. You are standing at the heart of existence itself. At the heart of quantum physics lies one of its strangest discoveries: entanglement. Imagine two tiny particles, born together like twins of light. They separate, flying in opposite directions, yet remain bound by an invisible link. No matter how far apart they drift across a lab, across the Earth, even across galaxies, what happens to one instantly affects the other. If one spins up, the other spins down. If one collapses into one state, the other responds without delay, as though no distance exists between them. Einstein, puzzled and frustrated, called it spooky action at a distance, for he could not accept that nature would allow such an intimate connection faster than the speed of light. For him, it was impossible. And yet, the universe did not ask for his permission. Decades later, physicist John Bell gave us a way to test whether entanglement was real or just a strange illusion. His theorem predicted that if particles truly were connected in the way quantum mechanics claimed, then no local hidden variable could explain their correlation. The test would reveal whether the universe obeyed classical logic or something deeper. In the 1980s, Alain Aspect and his team in France performed the experiments. They split photons into entangled pairs and measured their polarizations miles apart. The results were clear. The correlations between them violated classical expectations. Entanglement was real. The universe had spoken, and its voice said, "Separation is not what it seems." Since then, countless experiments have confirmed it with ever greater precision, even closing loopholes. In 2015, independent groups around the world performed loophole-free bell tests. And again, entanglement proved stronger than our old understanding of reality. Today, we even use entanglement as technology. Quantum computers rely on it to process information in ways classical machines cannot. Quantum cryptography uses it to create unbreakable codes. What once seemed like a mystical whisper of physics is now the foundation of tomorrow's tools. But entanglement is more than science. It is a metaphor written into the very fabric of existence. Think of twins who live apart. One feels sudden sadness, and the other senses it too. Think of a mother waking at night, sensing her child is in pain miles away. Think of a friend you haven't spoken to in months, so you suddenly think of them, and at that very moment they call. Coincidence, perhaps. Or perhaps echoes of the same web that binds entangled particles. Stoic philosophy understood this web long ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee." He saw humanity not as isolated individuals, but as threads in a single fabric. One cosmos, one reason, one shared fate. Spiritual traditions sing the same truth. The Buddhists speak of interbeing. The flower exists because of the soil, the rain, the sun. The Christians call it the body of Christ, many members but one whole. Indigenous wisdom names it the web of life, where each creature is a node, and harm to one vibrates through the entire net. Entanglement, in its quiet way, confirms these ancient intuitions. Science now whispers what mystics always proclaimed: you are not separate, you are part of a whole. Think of the internet. Billions of devices linked together, a message typed in one corner of the earth rippling instantly across the globe. That is our crude attempt to imitate the natural entanglement the universe already performs. Or think of music. A tuning fork struck in one room will cause another, tuned to the same note, to hum in sympathy. Though they do not touch, they sing together. Or picture two dancers. Once they find the rhythm, every movement of one finds its echo in the other, as though invisible lines connect their steps. Entanglement says, this is not just poetry, this is physics. So what does it mean for us? It means that when you hurt another, you do not only hurt them. You send ripples through the fabric that eventually return to you. It means that when you love, when you show kindness, the resonance does not stop at the edge of your body. It travels outward, woven into the whole. It means that your life is not a lonely point adrift in a void, but a thread in a cosmic tapestry, vibrating with all others. We are not islands. We are not solitary sparks. We are strands in a single flame, notes in a single song, stars in a single sky. Entanglement is not only a law of physics, it is a reminder, a mirror, a call to remember that our existence is shared. The universe is not many, the universe is one. One web, one fabric, one living whole. In the Double-Slit experiment, we saw that observation changes the outcome. But the great mystery remains. What counts as an observer? Is it the machine that measures, or is it consciousness itself? Physicists have debated this for decades. Some argue that consciousness has nothing to do with it, that it is simply the interaction of particles with detectors. But others, including some of the greatest thinkers, have wondered, could the mind play a role in shaping the world it perceives? Let's begin with science. John von Neumann, one of the pioneers of quantum theory, proposed that the collapse of the wave function, the moment when possibilities become reality, requires an observer, and that the ultimate observer is consciousness. Without awareness, the universe remains a field of probabilities. With awareness, it becomes definite. Eugene Wigner, a Nobel Prize-winning physicist, once wrote, "It was not possible to formulate the laws of quantum mechanics in a fully consistent way without reference to consciousness." To him, the mind was not outside the system, but part of the machinery of reality itself. Even Schrödinger, father of the famous cat paradox, was fascinated by this mystery. His thought experiment, where the cat is both alive and dead until observed, was not just about physics. It was about the unsettling possibility that reality waits for awareness to decide. Now think about this in daily life. Have you ever noticed how your attention changes the world around you? When you look at someone with kindness, they soften. When you look with suspicion, they close. The same person, but your observation changes their reality. Or think of art. A painting on the wall may sit in silence, unnoticed, but when you truly look, it comes alive. Your awareness breathes life into it. Or think of relationships. Someone who feels unseen shrinks, but when you give them your attention, they blossom. Consciousness transforms potential into presence. Isn't this what the quantum world seems to suggest? That the observer matters, not just as a machine, but as a living awareness? Philosophy has long suspected this. The Stoics spoke of logos, the rational principle that permeates the cosmos and also lives within our minds. For them, human reason was not separate from the universe, but a reflection of its order. To observe with reason was to participate in reality itself. Spiritual traditions echo this too. The Upanishads of India declare, "As is your mind, so is your world." Buddhism teaches that with our thoughts, we make the world. In Christian mysticism, Meister Eckhart said, "The eye with which I see God is the same eye with which God sees me. Consciousness and reality are not two, they are one dance." But let us be careful. Does this mean we literally create the universe with our thoughts? Not quite. The danger is in misreading quantum physics as wishful thinking. You cannot imagine a castle and have it appear before you. Quantum mechanics is subtle, not magic. Yet, what it does reveal is profound. The act of observation, of awareness, is not passive. It participates. It matters. And this is true in your own life. What you focus on grows stronger. What you ignore fades. If you constantly observe your failures, they define you. If you choose to observe your strengths, your gratitude, your possibilities, they come alive. Consciousness is a lens. Through it, the universe takes shape. Even modern neuroscience adds to the story. Brain scans reveal that attention reshapes neural pathways. Focused awareness literally rewires the brain. In psychology, this is called neuroplasticity, the mind observing itself and changing the structure of its own reality. And quantum physics whispers the same: reality is not fixed until observed. So we are left with a mystery, but also an invitation. If consciousness plays a role in shaping reality, then every moment of awareness is sacred. To notice is to participate. To focus is to create. To awaken is to weave possibility into form. You are not just drifting in a pre-written universe. You are part of the pen that writes it. The question is not only, what is the world? The question is also, who are you, the one who sees? For in the act of seeing, reality becomes real. We have journeyed through quantum physics, Stoic wisdom, and spiritual truths. But now we must ask, what do we do with this knowledge? How can these insights shape not only our thinking, but our living? Because knowledge that stays in the mind is like light trapped in a jar. It glows, but it does not guide. To live wisely, we must let the light spill out onto the path. Lesson 1. Pay attention to what you observe. Quantum physics shows us that observation matters. The observer effect teaches that what we watch changes. In your own life, what you give attention to expands. If you constantly observe the flaws in your life, they grow. If you observe only the noise of the world, it fills your mind. But if you choose to notice beauty, to look for gratitude, to pay attention to small joys, those too expand. The Stoics taught this long ago. Epictetus said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. What you choose to observe in your mind shapes the quality of your days." Spiritual traditions echo, where your gaze rests, there your life flows. So the first practice, guard your attention, choose it wisely. It is not a passive thing, it is creative. Lesson 2, live in the present. We have seen that reality exists only in the moment it is measured. The past dissolves into memory, the future remains possibility. The now is the only doorway to reality. In daily life, this means stop rehearsing fears of tomorrow. Stop replaying regrets of yesterday. Breathe into this moment, because this is where life unfolds. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present," the Buddha taught. Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. Quantum physics agrees. Only now collapses potential into form. So the second practice, return to now, again and again. Lesson 3, remember the web of connection. Entanglement teaches us that nothing stands alone. What happens to one particle ripples instantly to another, no matter the distance. In your own life, this means that your actions are never isolated. Every word, every gesture, every kindness or cruelty vibrates through the web of life. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee." The universe whispers, "You are not separate." So, the third practice, act with awareness of the web. Let your choices honor the whole. Lesson 4, use consciousness with care. If awareness participates in reality, then your consciousness is not small. It is a force. Think of your thoughts as seeds. Each one has the potential to shape the field of your life. Negative thoughts are not harmless. They plant weeds. Positive, compassionate, grateful thoughts plant gardens. Modern neuroscience agrees. Focus rewires the brain. You become what you repeatedly observe in yourself. So, the fourth practice, tend your inner garden. Train your consciousness as carefully as a craftsman shapes clay. Lesson 5, practice acceptance and courage. Quantum physics tells us the universe is not fixed. Life is uncertain, filled with possibilities. This can be frightening or liberating. The Stoics remind us, accept what you cannot control and act with courage in what you can. Spiritual traditions remind us, surrender is not weakness, but trust in the larger order. So, the fifth practice, walk with both acceptance and courage. Do not demand certainty. Live with faith in the dance of possibility. Lesson 6, turn knowledge into compassion. The ultimate lesson is not about theory, it is about love. If the universe is one web, then every being you meet is part of you. If reality is shaped by awareness, then every moment of attention you give is sacred. If the present is everything, then the person before you is the whole universe, right now. So live with compassion. Let wisdom become kindness. Let understanding become service. Quantum physics, stoicism, and spirituality are not separate. They are three languages pointing to one truth. Reality is alive. Awareness matters. Connection is real. The present is everything. So when you wake tomorrow, do not let this remain only as ideas. Step outside, feel the air, notice the sky. Observe with wonder, live with presence, act with compassion. Because in doing so, you are not only learning the universe, you are living it. We began with a question. What is reality? We walked through the double-slit experiment, where particles danced as waves until observed. So we saw the present moment as the only true stage of existence. We entered entanglement, where distance dissolves and everything is bound by invisible threads. We faced the mystery of consciousness, daring to ask whether the mind itself shapes the world. And finally, we gathered the lessons, attention, presence, connection, compassion practices for a life lived awake. But now we must pause, for the mystery remains. Quantum physics, for all its precision, cannot tell us why reality dances this way. Stoic wisdom, for all its clarity, cannot erase the uncertainty of life. Spiritual teachings, for all their beauty, cannot explain every hidden thread. And perhaps this is not a failure. Perhaps it is the point. Because the universe is not a puzzle to be solved once and for all. It is a story to be lived, a song to be sung, a mystery to be entered with awe. The Stoics told us, live with reason. The mystics told us, live with wonder. Quantum physics tells us, reality is stranger than we can imagine. And you are not a spectator of the story. You are inside it. Your awareness, your choices, your presence, they are part of the script. So as you step out of this reflection and back into your own life, remember, every breath is an observation. Every moment is a collapse of possibility into form. Every act of love ripples through the web of the universe. Do not waste your gaze on shadows. Do not postpone your life to a future that never comes. Do not believe you are separate from the whole. Instead, look, truly look, be here, truly be here, and live as though the universe itself is alive through you, because it is. In the end, the mystery of reality is not far away. It is not hidden in equations or temples. It is not locked in the stars. The mystery of reality is here, now, in you.